Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I'm super excited to dive into our presentation. We have a ton to cover, and I can't wait to get going. With that said, I do want to give all our webinar attendees a couple of seconds and a couple more minutes to join here. So while we do that, I want to make sure that everyone on this call is comfortable using the question box feature and GoToWebinar. So if you want, that'll essentially act as your chat feature for today. I'll be able to see everything that comes through. So while you can't chat with attendees, you will be able to submit questions into that question box. So if you are on this call now, go ahead and type in that question box. Give me a shout, say hello. Let me know where you're calling in from today. One of the beautiful things about these webinars is they connect folks from all different corners of the world. We're all showing up and here for our marketing today. So go ahead and let me know where you're calling in from today. I'll call out some of the answers and just see who we have on the call today. I have a ton already coming in. Some folks, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm already seeing a few folks saying some states in New England. So welcome all. We have Katie from Louisiana. We have Kristen from Wisconsin, Deborah from York, Pennsylvania, Kobe from Dallas. Hello. Shelly from Indiana. Hello. Angie from Bridgeton, Maine. Hey, neighbor. Keith from Houston, Texas. Hello. I love Houston. My best friend lives there. Jennifer from Kentucky. Hello, Jennifer. Alex from Wisconsin. We have Dee from Edmonton, Canada. Hello. Brandy from Michigan. Carol from Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Michael from Northern New Jersey. Some folks from Michigan, Ellie from Minnesota, Kelly from St. Louis, South Carolina, Wisconsin. So many people calling in right now. I wish I could call all of you out. So thanks for participating in that. And I'm glad that you feel comfortable using that question box. Again, you can drop your questions in throughout the presentation today. So thanks for giving me a shout, saying hello. I'll have some interactive questions like this throughout the presentation. So it's great to just connect with you all. There weren't a lot of places that I said twice. So again, it's pretty amazing. We have folks from many different countries, many different states showing up today for the one common goal, improving our marketing. So with that, I'm going to dive into a few housekeeping items for today's session. So please note that this webinar will be recorded, so you don't have to worry about taking notes or anything like that. You can easily find all of our webinar recordings, including this one and past ones if you feel like you've missed any, on the Local IQ and WordStream YouTube channels. Now, I will go over where you can find those in YouTube, but again, just note that you'll get a copy of the presentation and the recording in your inbox later today. So again, do not worry about that. We've got you covered. And the reason why I had you all practice using the Q&A feature in GoToWebinar is I want you to feel like you can ask me questions throughout this presentation. And if you've attended any of our past webinars, you know we have a really unique Q&A session at the end where you're able to kind of ask me any questions that you have over the topics that I've covered and kind of like what feels like a one-on-one setting. So really unique experience. We've had some really in-depth, cool Q&A sessions in the past. So definitely save your questions for that in the end. I won't be able to get to all of the questions while I'm presenting today. But again, I'll try and go through as many as I can at the end there. So for everyone on this call, I wanted to get us onto the same page as to who Local IQ is. Now, some of you might be totally new to Local IQ, and that's great. Welcome. Some of you might already be familiar with us or already working with us. Some of you might be familiar with our sister brand WordStream. So for everyone on this call, just know that Local IQ is a fully integrated growth marketing platform that gives businesses the tools that it needs to thrive and prosper in digital marketing. So how do we do that? We help you attract and retain the customers that matter most to your business. So we have proprietary informed data from over 5 million campaigns that we use to apply to help you make data-backed decisions in your campaigns. We also have personalized local industry experts ready to help you through your marketing journey. And we also focus on lead management and nurturing with the help of AI for faster follow-up and conversion action and conversion optimization. One thing that we're really proud of here at Local IQ is that we are a partner with all the major advertising platforms like Facebook ads, Google ads, or Meta ads, as we call it, and so on. We're really proud of this. This isn't granted to just every digital marketing platform out there. We have to hit a rigorous set of requirements, and the data right there speaks for itself, where we've delivered over 270 million leads for our customers, have also helped our customers generate nearly $16 billion total in revenue, and saved business owners, marketers, and everyone in between nearly 140 million hours of work. So we're really proud of that. A common question we get asked on these webinars is, where can you learn more about the topics we cover in these webinars? Where can you learn more about LocaliQ and our services and solutions, and so on? Be sure to check out the LocaliQ and WordStream blogs. You can find our websites easily through this slide here. And I will say that this hour is going to fly by. We have a lot to cover. So if you ever feel like you need a little bit more time with any of the topics that we cover here, or just kind of want to sit with any of the ideas or suggestions that we talk through today, definitely check out the blogs on WordStream and LocaliQ. We cover everything that we cover in these webinars in depth over there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media if you want to attend future webinars like this. We do them twice a month, so I would love to see you all back here. We also share any sort of like platform updates that advertisers should be aware of, and so on. You can find LocaliQ on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X, and YouTube, and WordStream on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and X, or Twitter and YouTube. And I will note again that those are our YouTube channel links down there at the bottom. So if you want to see this webinar recording later, or want to access any of our past webinar recordings, just type that into YouTube to find our channel, and they're right on our channels there. So a little bit about me, your webinar host and facilitator and speaker for today. It's wonderful to meet you all, and it's great to have you all here with me today. I am a senior content marketing specialist over at LocaliQ. My name is Susie, and I'm super excited to talk through everything under the digital marketing sun, because that's basically what I do in my day-to-day. I write educational content on everything from Google ads to Facebook ads to YouTube ads to SEO to display ads to email marketing, pretty much everything under the digital marketing sun. How I got into this role of creating this educational content on the LocaliQ and WordStream blogs is I formerly was a digital marketing consultant over at WordStream, where I coach businesses, like many of the business owners and marketers on this call, through the day-to-day best practices on major platforms like Facebook ads, Google ads, and so on. So I took that real-life experience of working with accounts and working through different types of scenarios in advertising across all industries, and applied it to the educational content that I create today. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm based in Boston, Massachusetts. I just recently moved to Salem, Mass, home of the Salem witch trials, if anyone is familiar with that little piece of history. Kind of a fun fact, Halloween is always like a super fun time around here, but I live like a street over from the ocean, be it cold in New England, but I'm looking forward to the summertime too. You can find me on Twitter or X and LinkedIn. I often share out any sort of like major articles, platform updates, or webinars that I'm hosting. So it's great to meet you all. So a little bit about what we're going to cover today. It's going to be kind of a simple structure for today's webinar, where we're kind of just really diving deep into one specific topic, and that topic being the biggest challenges that businesses are facing when running search and social ads. So we're going to help you talk through some of those big challenges and talk through some major platform shifts, how you can optimize your strategy, and so on. Also give you guys a few thought starters, a few things that I want you to all to walk away with that you can apply to your campaigns. And we'll also jump into that live Q&A as I mentioned. So for everyone on this call, if you've attended any of our past webinars, you know I love to keep our webinar attendees on their toes. So I want you all to type into that question box. Let me know, what do you anticipate will be your biggest challenge in search or social marketing and advertising this year? I'll call out some of the answers here, but I just want to have us take a second to do a quick pulse check, a quick temperature gauge to see how we're feeling about this topic, what challenges you all are anticipating, so I can tailor what I'm talking through to some of those major, most popular concerns. And I already have a ton of responses coming in here. I'll call out some of them. A lot of people talking about lead quality, definitely understandable. We have Ashley saying just anticipating changes in Google Ads for sure. John has mentioned seeing a rise in cost per lead could be a potential challenge. Kelly saying budget is her biggest challenge. Samantha saying generating leads, like I mentioned earlier. Kayla, conversions to sales. Angie is in a heavily restricted industry. Definitely can talk about that too. I know that a lot of industries are specific and have certain policies that they have to follow. Christian says how to get it to work and managing costs, definitely fair. Ali says targeting quality leads. That's definitely a major concern for many businesses too. Some folks mentioned differentiating themselves, staying true to their brand. Karina mentioned economic challenges. Thomas said staying relevant with organic content. Definitely a good call out there. Tons and tons of answers coming through. Some folks mentioning applying AI too. We can talk about that as well. I wish I could call out every single answer here. So thank you for participating in that. But if you notice, not every answer I said was the same, right? So everyone is going to have a different experience. So while I am going to talk about general best practices and tips, think about how it could apply to your specific and unique situation. At the end of the day, no two ad accounts are the same. So what might work for you might not work for a competitor or a business in a completely different industry, and that's okay. And it's okay to have a unique advertising experience. It's not always easy. If it was, we wouldn't have to be here on this webinar right now. I mean, I've been in the marketing game for a while, and I always say there is no one person that knows everything there is to know about pay-per-click advertising. So we're all always learning and going through, the ebbs and flows of the platform landscapes. So with that, if you feel like some of those challenges I did call out were ones that you also resonated with, whatever challenge you called out, you're not alone. Our exclusive small business marketing advertising trends report show that almost half of small businesses think economic uncertainty will be somewhat or very challenging in the coming year when it comes to search and social advertising and marketing in general. It's unfortunate that inflation, supply chain instability, and other factors continue to make operations difficult for so many business owners. So getting new leads and customers continues to be a concern for small businesses. And with 45% of businesses saying it will be challenging in 2025 and 13% of those noting that it'll be very challenging, small businesses are also concerned about maximizing their budget. This is the biggest concern for businesses with a smaller monthly marketing budget, of course, because we're all looking to stretch that budget as much as we can, whether it be big or small. On the other hand, small businesses have a great handle on customer retention. So fewer than 1 in 10 businesses that we surveyed said that this area is very challenging. So remember that, while you're going to have some weaknesses when it comes to search and social advertising, you can also play into some of your strengths. So again, I just wanted to give us like a quick pulse check, see what you all and the businesses we surveyed are saying are the main concerns or challenges for marketing and advertising in 2025. To know, like, if you are feeling this way, it's totally normal and okay, but there are ways to work through it. The last thing you want is to potentially like pause or scale back your campaigns because of these concerns. It's more just about kind of like working through them, which is what we're going to talk about today. So the main bulk of this presentation is going to be these 5 challenges in search and social advertising and how you can overcome them. So we're really going to dive deep in here, talk about why these are challenges, why these are concerns, and what you can do to adjust and pivot your strategy to overcome these challenges. So I think kind of the main theme here that we saw just from those survey results and from the poll question that I asked here is how do we deal with rising costs in search and social ads? Even if your costs are relatively low, and I'll get into some of the average costs, they're actually, depending on the platform, depending on the industry, pretty manageable. But again, that's going to be subjective to every business's size and budget and so on. So even if you feel like you actually have like a monster budget, which I've seen many small businesses actually have a decent amount of budget to the point where they feel like it's not being spent to its fullest capacity on a platform like Google Ads, for example. We'll talk about that too. So no matter what set end of the spectrum you're at, it's more just kind of like dealing with trying to get the most bang for your buck. It's you're going to be thinking about this topic more like not just the individual cost per click going up, but also how is that impacting your overall cost per lead and your overall revenue, return on ad spend, and so on. So we know costs have gone up for some industries in both Facebook and Google Ads, but across the board overall, we did see an increase this past year. According to our latest exclusive search advertising benchmarks that you can find on the WordStream and LocaliQ blogs, we do this report annually. And we're really proud of this data, but it does tell a pretty clear story there that because of increased competition and many other factors playing into the Google Ads search space right now, that Google Ads cost per click has increased year over year by 10.43%. And then we're also looking at nearly a 25% increase in Google Ads cost per lead year over year. So those are pretty steep increases here. And I know that seems a little intimidating. Do not let that discourage you. Search ads is still extremely helpful when it comes to generating new leads for your business, new customers, and so on. We know that, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. But I just want to give us a picture of how much these costs might be increasing just across the board. So no matter what industry you're in, you might be feeling this a little bit, and that's okay. However, if you're mainly more of a Facebook ad or Meta ads advertiser, we have seen more stable costs on Facebook ads than Google ads year over year, but many businesses are still struggling to keep their overall paid advertising costs low. So this is why you want to kind of think about your Google ads and Facebook ads costs together to play into your overall advertising budget, right? So even though you're seeing maybe lower costs year over year in Facebook ads, depending on your campaign objective. So for our Facebook ads benchmarks that we published this past year, we saw cost per click and cost per lead for the lead gen campaign objective, for example, cost per click decreasing by 2% year over year and cost per lead decreasing by 5% year over year for those campaign objectives. So in that example, right, you're probably maybe seeing a little bit of lower costs on Facebook ads, but that might not be enough to offset your Google ads costs, right? So whether you're seeing increases or decreases, or whether you're happy with the cost per click that you're getting and the cost per lead that you're getting, or you're looking to improve that, at the end of the day, the costs are just going to continue to increase. So you need to be on top of different and new strategies, which I'll cover, to help you kind of just maintain as low of a cost per click and cost per lead as you possibly can. Now, there are a few ways to do that. So one thing, again, and I kind of alluded to this when I talked about like how you want to be just thinking about not just your Google ads budget or not just your Facebook ads budget, but also your overall advertising budget. You could incorporate other platforms like Bing or Yelp ads into your paid strategy to offset costs. For example, cost per click on Microsoft ads, or Bing ads as we call it, is actually 200% lower than that on Google ads. And then for Yelp, you can start Yelp advertising for as little as $5 a day. So those are pretty low cost-wise advertising options, and they're pretty easy to translate and incorporate into your already running strategy. So for example, you can automatically import what you're running on Google Ads into ads, and I do have a full set of instructions on importing and copying and finding your success on Bing ads from Google ads on Bing ads on the LocaliQ blog. And we also have a whole Yelp ads 101 tutorial so on the LocaliQ blog as well. So if you want to get started with those are just good examples of other advertising avenues and channels you can add into your strategy, right? You still want to be running on Google ads and Facebook ads because they're going to have the audience that you're already maybe targeting, or you might be really happy with the setup or the structure with that. You might be seeing some success, but want to incorporate other lower cost strategies into your overall advertising strategy. That's one example of how you could do that. You also might want to use tools at your fingertips to optimize your campaign budgets across platforms. So for example, we have our cross-media technology over at LocaliQ that dynamically adjusts budgets across platforms to only spend when it matters most. So kind of will dynamically adjust your campaign budgets on Meta ads and Google ads and so on to make sure that your budgets are always staying on top of what's going to give you the best ROI. So moving on to our next challenge, and I'm seeing tons of questions come in already, and this is great. And I'll try to address as many as I can as I go. And then again, I'll come back to a lot of these in the Q&A too. So keep those questions coming. This is awesome. We're going to talk about getting new leads and customers because that's, of course, always a common challenge for businesses. At the end of the day, we want to grow and we want to get more customers, more leads, more conversions, whatever that end goal might be. So it can be difficult to get those leads in and actually convert them via paid and search and social strategies. There are a ton of steps involved with a lead gen, your typical lead gen campaign. For example, you might start by defining your audience, and different audiences might prefer different types of lead magnets. And you also want to know like what your end goal is. Is it just to get a form submission, or is it to get an actual paying customer, or is it to just generate awareness for your brand? And that's totally okay too. Whatever your goal is, there is no right or wrong answer there. It's just knowing that ahead of time is going to alter how you approach your lead generation strategy. You'll also want to think about where your ads are running. So while we call it paid search, it's not necessarily just that anymore. On Google, you can run ads like Performance Max campaigns, demand gen campaigns, and more that show across many different placements like display, video, Gmail, and more to help grow your business and expand your reach. But depending on where you're showing, that's going to impact the type of lead magnet or CTA that you want to offer them. So I would definitely keep that in mind, and you're considering that, which can be difficult too because you have to maybe alter your campaigns, alter your copy and creative. And you also want to be checking in on that regularly too. You might need to be running A/B tests, and you might need to be making sure that you're hitting metrics along the way that also matter to your business. You know, there are a lot of other metrics involved in paid advertising that roll into those money metrics, as I call them, like cost per click or cost per lead. And then lastly, once we get those leads through the door from our search ad or paid social ad campaigns, what do we do with them? So the work doesn't stop there. You also have to nurture those leads, which I'll get into in a second. So first thing is you might want to consider the lead magnets that you're turning to for your Facebook ads and Google ad campaigns. And you might need to also incorporate AI for this reason. So you could use AI to help you with conversion optimization or also with lead nurturing. So there's a ton of ways that you can incorporate AI into your Google ads and Facebook ads campaigns to streamline your lead gen strategy. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So here are some examples or options of lead magnets that you could include in your advertising. I included this example of just a simple search ad that advertises a test drive, which of course is just kind of like a booking action there. That'll just, again, increase this auto business's leads through that search ad. But there are other things like webinars, newsletters, white papers and downloads, ebooks, any sort of like case studies or testimonials that you might have, those types of like videos or PDFs or imagery, quotes, things like that. You can incorporate that into your search and social campaigns or into like display ads, things like that. Any sort of like proprietary research that your business might put out, or any sort of like surveys or data that you might have that relate back to your industry that could interest your customers. Other things that I like to suggest for small businesses are things like checklists or to-do lists. So you could always like do, for example, if I were a home services business, I might create like a free download for a checklist to prepare or to winterize my home or something like that. Other things like interactive tools, calculators, and more, and also things like trial subscriptions are all great lead magnets. So try and create a few and try to advertise a few to see what works, and think about how those different lead magnets might connect back to your audience as well. So for example, not every audience, of course, is going to be attracted to the same type of lead magnet. So in that same scenario, maybe I'm, targeting families, right? Potentially I'm like a toy company or like an higher education, something like that. Let's say if I was at higher education in that scenario, I wanted to target parents and I wanted to target potential students. Of course, students and parents are going to be interested in different things. So students might have a college prep checklist, while parents might have, a tips list or a prep list for sending their child off to college. So those are just a few examples of different lead magnets that you could have, and definitely try and incorporate a few. Now, I know that sounds easier said than done, because of course it's not just, okay, I want to employ these multiple different lead magnets. Well, you'll also have to create the actual asset, create the creative for those different ads that are attracting to or advertising to different things. And that's where AI can come in. So we have a ton of different AI prompts on the WordStream and Look Like You blogs that can help you just use free AI tools to create advertising creative or create new copy as well, which I'll talk about a little bit more. We also have an AI copy tool, which I'll cover in the next few slides too, that can help you just automatically copy some of that creative to easily plug into your Google Ads and Facebook ads campaigns so that you can run different offers at different times. Also, when it comes to not just generating leads, AI can help you nurture those leads once you get them in through your search and social campaigns. For example, our Dash products here, we're super excited about. They help you easily streamline your leads. It helps you categorize and organize your leads, see the quality of the leads that you're getting from your search and social campaigns. We also offer through Dash automated follow-up, incomplete transcripts of chatbot threads and chat solutions so that you can answer clients and answer customers as they come to your business automatically, and immediately. And customers are expecting that more. They have this expectation. Actually, over 40% of consumers want a live chat experience on a business's website. And the majority of customers also expect to get an answer from a business within 24 hours of reaching out to that business. So you want to have those automated emails going through. You want to have a handle on those calls coming through to your business, and Dash can help with that. So the next challenge here is maximizing your budget. Now, we did talk about like managing your costs and being aware of your costs and thinking about your budget as a whole. I'm going to dig into that a little bit more because I want us to also consider how our budget is being spent, and that's going to depend on your campaign styles and your campaign's behavior. So let's dig into that. So the increase in competition is basically why we're seeing an increase in search and social costs. So if you feel like your budget is already stretched, you're not alone. The majority of businesses have already increased their budget this year. So many people are planning to increase their budget or even doing more of that in the coming year. And it's a huge market for putting budget towards marketing tools and advertising tools right now. So there is a level of competition, and the landscape is really changing where it's not just one big business that's like driving up the overall competition. Basically, if you're not advertising on search and social, it's like guaranteed that your competition is. So all these different types of businesses out there are all kind of going after the same or similar markets, and that's going to drive up those costs. So again, you might want to be thinking about how your competitors might be approaching their budgets. So again, nearly half of businesses are planning to increase their budget in 2025. And the main reason is because they want more leads and sales. So they want to take up more real estate on the on Facebook or Instagram feeds if they were running Meta ads, or on the search engine results page if they were running Google ads. So they're really looking for more leads, or looking, of course, to grow and expand your business. Now, some businesses are decreasing their budgets a little bit. definitely less than only 16%, but for that small percentage that is, it's of course due to those things that we discussed earlier of economic uncertainty, high ad costs, and things like that. But it's better to continue running than to not run at all because, again, odds are that your competitor's already running. I did see a few questions come through about the deck and recording. So just a reminder that you will get a copy of the slides in your inbox later today, as well as the recording in your inbox later today. And you can find the recording on YouTube. So how do you manage, this increased competition? How do you manage your budget on Facebook and Google Ads? So again, I did talk about looking at your budgets by platform individually and together as a whole. Another thing that can help is using a marketing calendar to keep your budget optimizations and tracking tight. So I did just allude to that on the last slide where I said it's better to always be running something. It's called an always on marketing strategy than not. So if, let's say, you're a seasonal business and you're facing some seasonality on your Google Ads and Facebook ads right now, you're not getting as much coming through, you still want to be running those campaigns because all of those campaigns are powered by the platform's algorithms that require historical data in order to properly run. So if you're stopping and starting your campaigns all the time, pausing and unpausing them, that's really disruptive to the advertising algorithms on Google and Facebook. What that does is it just basically just keeps putting your campaigns back into the learning period, and that will just cause it to kind of fluctuate in performance because basically the algorithms are just constantly testing how to best serve your ads to meet your goals or objectives that you assign to your campaigns. So if they don't have a ton of historical data to go off of, they're going to continue to test. And that means that the platforms could end up bidding high, super high one day, super low the next day, and you're really not getting the best bang for your buck. So you want to just kind of keep yourself on top of just those maybe budget reallocations or budget adjustments throughout the year, depending on your business's seasonality, but you want to just continue to keep it running. So when you're looking at your budget individually on each platform, you want to, consider different things. Of course, there's different capabilities between Meta Ads and Google Ads. There is a lot of similarities between running in Google Ads and Meta Ads, but I will say if you're running ads on Facebook, and now again, when I'm saying Facebook ads, we know that means Instagram ads, Messenger, WhatsApp, and so on. One main thing that can really impact how your Facebook ads budget gets spent is your audience size. And Facebook ads has like really good insights into how to gauge your audience size that I think is kind of unique to that platform. So if anyone is familiar with the native Facebook ads user interface, when you're setting up an ad set or selecting your audience, it'll have like a little image on the side that kind of shows or triggers like how more or less broad or narrow your audience targeting is. And you want to try and be in that sweet spot, right? So that you're not in such a big audience that your budget is getting spent super fast and it's super ineffective, or such a small audience that you feel like your budget isn't getting spent effectively enough, or you're limiting yourself. So your audience size can definitely impact that. Now, your audience approach might change if you're looking more into the Meta Advantage Plus capabilities. So the Meta Advantage Plus suite has been rolled out, and it gives a lot more flexibility for advertisers that just want just a little bit more guidance with some of the settings that they're selecting in their Meta ads. So Advantage Plus solutions are basically just AI powered solutions from Facebook or Meta ads that help you optimize your campaigns. So you can pick and choose what you want to do. That's Advantage Plus. So there's like Advantage Plus audience options, which is why I said your audience approach might change if you're using an Advantage Plus audience. So what that means is you're basically letting Facebook kind of pick your audience a little bit more, use AI to optimize your audience targeting a little bit more. Creative, again, this is something that I mentioned where you want to have really high quality ads to, decrease the cost that you're going to have to pay to have your ad be served. So you can use that. You can use AI to help you do that. Also, too, if you're going to run tests on like different lead magnets, this can definitely be helpful too. You can also do the same approach as you would for audiences for placements with Advantage Plus, and also budget automation even. So it can be helpful. There are benefits and drawbacks, of course, to any sort of like automated feature on an advertising platform. We do cover pros and cons of Advantage Plus in depth on the WordStream blog if you have more questions on that there. Moving on to Google Ads budget tips. So I always say kind of like stick to the basics. I think advertisers can get really bogged down with like a specific cost per click or a specific cost per lead. But and they're looking at all these other metrics that could be factoring into that, and that's totally fair. But it's surprising like how the fundamentals still stick when it comes to Google advertising. So quality score is really going to impact the cost that you're getting away with on Google Ads. You want to be thinking about these advertising platforms and the job that they have to do, which is they all have a job to do. And that's to show the best quality ad to the user for the most money that they can get, right? So the platforms are willing to trade off an ad for maybe a lower cost per click if it will be a better experience for the user. So that's why ad relevance and ad quality is so important. And that's why ads and keywords with a higher quality score get away with a lower cost per click. So there are three things that go into your quality score, and that overall impacts how much you'll have to bid, which of course impacts your budget, and that will impact your ad rank, which of course impacts your conversion metrics. So the three elements that go into a quality score are expected click-through rate, landing page experience, and ad relevance. Of course, these are kind of tough to get a handle on because it's up to Google to determine that. So like for expected click-through rate, it's kind of based on your click-through rate historical data. So you want to try and maintain a high click-through rate. Or your ad relevance, it's looking to see if your target keywords are also in your ads, because that clues Google into knowing, okay, this ad will be relevant to the searcher's query. And then landing page experience, well, if the user was to click on this ad, is the landing page loading fast, easy to navigate, and also relevant to the ad in the user's query. So those types of elements and focusing on that will help bring up your quality score, and then you can get away with a lower cost per click for a better ad rank. Speaking of the Google Ads auction, your bidding strategy will also impact how quickly or slowly your budget is being spent on Google Ads. So for example, if you were to use a maximize conversions bidding strategy, if anyone is familiar with the Google Ads bidding strategies, and we do have a full breakdown of that on the WordStream blogs, maximize conversions tends to spend maybe at a little bit of a higher rate, because you're kind of saying, all right, Google, take my budget and spend whatever you need to spend to get me the most conversions possible. So it might end up bidding a little bit more aggressively to get you those conversions versus, maximizing for clicks. It's trying to get you the most clicks possible. So it might be willing to bid a little bit lower to get you the most clicks within your budget. So the lower cost per click you have, the more clicks you can get away with within that budget. So that's just a few examples of how your bidding strategy is going to impact like the rate at which your budget gets spent. And there are some things you can do to kind of control that a little bit more. For example, and this isn't going to always be a fit for everyone, but shared budgets found in the shared library of Google Ads, that basically gives like one overarching budget to apply to all your campaigns. And I know you're thinking, wow, that sounds super easy. Why am I not already doing that? You can definitely do it, and it works for some accounts, but it might not work for everyone, because you probably are going to want more or less budget going towards certain campaigns that are of lower or higher priority. But that's just one option. You could also set for any sort of, any advertisers on here that might be feeling a little bit more advanced. And again, if you're basic or totally new to this, that's okay too. But there is something called Google Ads scripts. And you could add a script or like a snippet of code that basically tells the Google Ads platform how to automatically optimize your account. So you might create like an automated budget rule that says, okay, lower or increase my budget by X amount whenever my metric hits or decrease my budget by X amount whenever my metric hits this. We do have some information on some Google Ad scripts on the WordStream blog. So that's just one other option. And then lastly, there is the option for monthly account spend limits. And you can find that in your account settings, which can also help you keep a cap on your budgets. So some more general budget tips, definitely check in on them regularly. I will say, back when I was coaching businesses through advertising, checking in on budgets was kind of a regular part of our regular routine, because you never know, you might want to be adding again, more or less, depending on how something's performing. And that's okay. Like if you're married to one campaign and you just feel like you're just not getting the conversion rates that you want from that, don't keep spending there and put the money towards a campaign that is bringing you the results you want while you troubleshoot and adjust. So those are going to fluctuate, and that's okay. I did already talk through how important it is to keep your campaigns running no matter the season. And you'll also want to continue to A/B test copy and creative to see what ad formula will give you the lowest cost per click and cost per lead. Something to help you do that is our Google Ads AI copy tool. This is brand new. We're super excited. You can find it on the Local IQ website. And basically with this free AI copy tool, it's just a few easy steps. It takes like 1 minute and you automatically get tons of different copy and paste ad headline and description options for your ad. So if you feel like you're kind of in the rut of how many different times can I say the same offer, or I'm just running the same offer all the time and I'm running out of things to say about it, that's okay. And you still want to run an A/B test, this can help you get ideas for that A/B test. So definitely check it out. I'm excited about that. Moving on to challenge 4 here, optimizing campaign performance. So while of course the bottom line is super important, I think a lot of advertisers also still really care about the quality and overall performance of individual metrics that might not always directly correlate with the bottom line, but are still important. So you want to be thinking about how are your 2025 search and social ad campaigns hitting your goals. The SMART goal structure can be really helpful here. So that means making sure that any goals that you have set, for your Facebook ads or Google ads are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time specific. So for example, if I'm running an Instagram ad campaign and the goal is to increase my followers, I can't just say, well, I'm going to run this Instagram ad and hopefully I'll get more followers. That's not a super clear goal. So it'll be really hard to optimize, right? Because you can't really gauge if that's contributing to the overall goal if you don't have any sort of specific metrics to hold yourself against or a time frame to know how you're pacing. So a more smart version of that would be, I'm going to run this Instagram ad for this amount of time, and my goal is to increase followers by this amount, and I'm going to include this offer that's relevant to my audience because it's this time of year, and I'm going to check in on it at this date. So that's a way you can make it a little bit more structured. But if you're doing all that and come to find out your campaigns aren't hitting what they're supposed to be hitting, that's obviously a challenge. So you're going to maybe start auditing your account, and there's a lot to consider when it comes to auditing your account too. So when you're ready to optimize, maybe you're not hitting what you want and you want to adjust. There's so much that you could look at, and this is just for Google ads, never mind for Meta ads, right? So that all of these different account components play into this overall story of your search advertising experience, and they could all impact, what is going to actually work for your business. So for example, in the settings and goals, maybe you're not hitting the conversion metrics that you want. Well, that might be because of the conversion tracking that you have set. So for example, you could track whatever you want as a conversion action. For example, you could track button clicks, you could track video views on your website, you could track, whatever you wanted. And if you have a ton of conversion actions being tracked, well, obviously that's going to inflate your conversion metrics and make the campaign seem like it's doing really good. On the opposite end, you might not like that idea at all, right? So you're I'm only going to track form fills or purchases. But then you're kind of limiting yourself, right? Because then you just have that those one or two actions tracked. And then you're like, why is my conversion rate and my conversion number so low? Well, you're probably still getting a lot of meaningful actions out of that campaign, but you're only tracking those few conversions. So it's kind of, again, skewing the results on the opposite end. So, there's a lot to, kind of think through, or how that can impact your bottom line. Other examples are, small things. I would say another like regular activity I did with folks that we actually do automatically for people here at Local IQ, which is awesome, is keyword optimization. So regularly, back when I was working with businesses through Google Ads and Facebook ads, we were constantly checking in on keywords. All right, we should pause that. We should add that as a negative. We should change the match type there. Local IQ's proprietary AI technology automatically does that for you. So, we automatically add negative keywords that are irrelevant to your business and so on, so that you don't have to keep doing that, like, redundant maintenance. But those are the small things that you might be having to consider when it comes to your campaign optimization. And it can definitely be intimidating. And that's okay. So let's talk about kind of the solution there for that. And if you feel like you're not satisfied with your results, that's okay too. And I'll, again, go into the solution in just a second. But I did also want to include, how satisfied other businesses are feeling with their search and social advertising. Honestly, 3/4 or about 75% of both small businesses are both satisfied with both their search advertising and their social media ads. So, I would say most businesses are seeing success with these channels. So if you're not seeing success yet, don't give up, is kind of my point with that. And you're not alone if you're feeling good about it, but you still want to squeeze more out of it. I'd say, like, there's always room for improvement. I have worked with accounts that are basically on cruise control. They're crushing it. They're doing great. There's not a lot of optimizations to do, but I still try to find different things that you can optimize, improve, or test, just to keep, evolving with the search landscape. So one thing that I say to folks when they're looking at their campaign optimization and their campaign performance is, are you focusing on the right metrics? So again, I think advertisers can get really hung up on like a few metrics that, they think really matter. Like, for example, the money metrics. I think every business, of course, because you're putting money into your campaign, really cares about, their ad campaign cost per lead or their ad campaign cost per click, and rightfully so. But there's other metrics that matter just as much that you might not think about as much, that could impact that performance or could clue you in on what to do for optimization. For example, click-through rate. I was talking earlier about how quality score impacts your costs a ton. Well, click-through rate can impact your expected click-through rate grading from Google that plays into your quality score. So you want to prioritize a high click-through rate in order to see those lower costs per click, and then, of course, see those lower costs per lead. So that's just one example. You can use your own performance history if you're already running for a while to know how you should be doing. We also have industry benchmarks to help you know what works. And then also use a reporting method that works for you so you can stay on top of this and make those data-backed optimization decisions. So here is an example of some of the metrics that matter most to similar businesses like the folks on this call, that they focus on. So, of course, return on investment, sales and revenue, conversion rate, cost per lead, website traffic, calls, and foot traffic are all important when it comes to your search and social advertising. So this is just a few examples of metrics that you might want to be prioritizing. And again, of course, a lot of these are like quote unquote money metrics, right? Return on investment, sales, revenue, cost per lead, but also things like conversion rate. Again, like if you have a really high conversion rate, then maybe you don't mind, having a little bit of a higher cost per lead or having a little bit, of skewed results otherwise because you're hitting the conversion goals that you're getting. So that's all going to depend on your goals. And it's also going to depend on what is relatively a good performance for you in your industry. Now, again, I know this is a ton of information to take in on a slide, and it's not because I expect you all to read through every single average for every industry on Facebook ads and Google ads over these next two slides. It's more to show you that you can find out this information for your industry. So if you're looking for averages to base your campaign performance on, definitely check out our Facebook ads and Google ads benchmarks on the WordStream and local IQ sites. And again, you'll be able to take your time with this after you'll get a copy of the slides and a recording in your inbox later today. But just the kind of a few examples of some industry benchmarks that can help all right, my industry is typically going to see a lower conversion rate. So maybe I'm not going to prioritize conversion rate as much and I'll focus more on lowering my cost per lead and so on. Also, reporting is so important. So find a reporting method that works for you, because basically you're going to make optimization decisions based on what you find on these reports. So again, our Dash and our marketing dashboard helps you get a clear snapshot of how your search and social ads are working towards your lead generation goals. It can help you know how many leads are coming through, your click-through rate, your cost per click, the average call length from the leads that you're getting from these search and social campaigns. And if anyone is familiar with the native Google Ads or Meta Ads UI platform, it's not as clearly laid out like this. Like, you really have to dig if you wanted to find your average call length, if you could even really find it, depending on the type of ad account you have. So this is a real strength or an advantage you can have when you work with a marketing partner that can help break down some of your data. So lastly, we know there are a ton of platform updates constantly coming at us. 2024 was a very exciting year in the search and social landscapes, for better or for worse. Meta, Facebook, Google, they all rolled out a lot. So let's kind of talk through why that is. So there's a ton of updates and trends, and it's mostly because platforms are trying to balance, this like privacy first approach to advertising, where they're trying to please their users, and then also on the opposite end, trying to make it still as approachable for advertisers as possible to advertise on these platforms. So both Meta and Google have rolled out like different and new reports to make performance insight and transparency easy. However, that could mean increased competition, right? Because everybody's able to get a better feel for how to target just the right customer. Also, highly optimized ad creative is definitely on the rise for 2025. Both Google and Facebook have rolled out AI options to help create AI media rich ads. So if you're not yet using AI for creative, I bet you it's going to become more and more of a trend coming from your competitors and so on. So you might want to try some of those capabilities within the platforms to just stay ahead of the game. So to stay ahead of those platform changes, you can use trusted marketing resources to know what's coming, to know what just rolled out and what changed. Also be open to trying new strategies as new trends emerge. So being open to trying AI and so on. Or another example that I talked about recently in a past webinar is Google just announced that it is, as of this month, phasing out manual enhanced cost per click bidding, or ECPC. So enhanced cost per click bidding, or ECPC, was a kind of like an in-between bidding strategy between manual and smart bidding, and that's no longer available. So businesses will have to decide, whether they want to continue just to move on to a smart bidding strategy or revert back to manual bidding. So that's just another example of a platform update that you'd want to be aware of if you're running enhanced CPC. A lot of businesses aren't. It's not like super major, but that's just another example. So there's tons of places you can find marketing resources to help take the guesswork out of your AI, advertising optimization this year. Websites, blogs, industries, publications, and forums were called out in our survey as the top source for marketing information and education. You can also check out other sources listed here, but again, if you don't have time to do the legwork of studying all these different resources, a marketing partner can help you with that. Also, here are some more examples of trends you might want to consider. We found that most businesses are looking into short form videos, which we saw are becoming more and more popular on advertising platforms like Meta. Also seeing things like YouTube Shorts come about on Google. Also incorporating influencer marketing into their social ads is another example, and so on. So you want to just try and consider other trends that are popularizing. And again, like resources like this can help you understand, what trends you should prioritize. So I know that was a ton of information, and honestly, this hour flew by. But if there's anything that you all can take away from today, it's kind of these three things. Be patient. I talked a little bit about stopping your campaigns, and I always joke that the hardest part of PPC is patience, right? So you really have to give minimum 14 days, ideally 30, to any campaign change to let the algorithm adjust and get out of that learning phase. So it's okay to test, but just know that it might take time, but you're really working towards those long-term goals when you do that. Also, being open to using the right tools and data, using industry benchmarks, marketing resources available to you to help you set those smart goals, and make data-backed optimizations decisions can really help. And then also, I always say at the end of every webinar, always, always, always have a backup plan. Be ready to pivot. If think about when you're rolling out a new strategy, a new test, or a new campaign, be thinking of ahead to, all right, if this works out how I want it to, great. What am I going to do next? Am I going to let that cruise? Am I going to scale it back? Am I going to scale it up? Or if it doesn't work how it's supposed to at all, and I'm not seeing the results I want, how am I going to pivot, right? Am I advertising on other platforms aside from Google and Meta ads to supplement any of those gaps that I might be creating here with this test? Just thinking about that, I think a lot of businesses, again, can get stuck on like one set strategy that has worked a lot for them in the past that, as the landscape changed, might not necessarily work anymore. That's okay and that's normal, but just be ready to pivot and flex because of that. So again, I know that was a ton of information. And I'm seeing a lot of questions come through about specific businesses, specific scenarios. If you have more questions or ready and you feel ready to overcome some of the challenges that you're facing here, feel free to hit yes in that poll that I just put up to take over your screen. That way you can get a one-on-one marketing assessment with an expert at a time of your choosing after this. So that way you're able to get those questions answered in a real one-on-one setting. So while I won't be able to answer all of the questions today because I know a ton have come through, that's why we have that poll up. So with that being said, I'm going to leave that poll up and hang out. If you answered it, feel free to sit back and relax. And we're going to just switch into the Q&A portion, which is basically just an audio portion so you can listen in as I answer some of the questions. If you haven't yet dropped your question, drop it in. We have a couple more minutes here, and I'll try and cover as much as I can. There's a ton of questions coming in. Let's see. For questions about the recording and the deck, it will be emailed to you later today. Some folks are asking why Google went up in costs and Meta went down in costs year over year. Basically, it's because there's a lot of economic factors that came into play. We also found through the Google antitrust trial that costs were also being kind of pushed up by Google, which we discussed in the Google Ads benchmarks report that Meta Ads did not see. There's also been more capabilities rolled out on Meta Ads to make costs a little bit more manageable. Also, costs are just historically lower on Facebook ads because they kind of run, or Instagram ads, they've kind of run more like a display ad on Google Ads. So if you notice in display ads on Google Ads tend to have a really low cost per click. It's the same kind of idea, I think, on Meta Ads where they're just like kind of showing passively to users as they're scrolling. So they're going to have a really high rate of impressions that search ads don't necessarily have. And because of that, that's another reason why there's kind of just like such a difference between the cost between the two platforms. Some folks have asked, aren't higher costs per click and higher cost lead largely due to broad match and smart bidding? It really depends on the account. It's not, while that has been a new strategy that has been more and more popularized by Google this past year, It's not necessarily always true. Some accounts have seen lower costs because of that pairing. So it's really going to depend on the industry. Some folks are asking, how much they should invest in their marketing. We see businesses start out between 5 to 10% of their revenue going towards marketing, but depending on your business size, that usually ends up being more like 12 to 14 or 15% of revenue going towards marketing. Great question. All right, we're 1 minute over. I wish I could answer all of your questions. As you could tell, I could talk about this all day, but thank you all so much for joining. I hope you have a wonderful day. We do these webinars twice a month, so stay tuned for our next webinar coming up. I hope this was helpful and that you feel like you walked away with some new ideas to consider and continue learning on. And again, thank you all, and I hope you have a great day.